You are listening to Bedtime Dreamy Tales. Subscribe to our channel for new story. Story title, The Red Shoes. Once upon a time in a quaint village, there lived a little girl named Karen. She was as beautiful as a spring morning, but very poor. During the summers, she roamed barefoot, and in winters, she wore oversized wooden shoes that turned her feet a dangerous red. Despite her hardships, Karen always had a smile that could light up the darkest days. In the heart of the village lived Dame Shoemaker, an elderly woman with kind eyes and nimble fingers. She decided to sew a pair of shoes for Karen from old red cloth strips. Though clumsy and ill-fitted, these shoes were made with love and care. Karen received the red shoes on the very day of her mother's funeral. With no other footwear, she wore them as she followed her mother's humble coffin to the grave. As Karen walked behind the coffin, a grand carriage halted beside her. Inside sat an old lady who took pity on the forlorn girl. "Give me the little girl," she told the clergyman. "I will adopt her." Karen believed this miraculous turn of events happened because of the red shoes. However, the old lady thought the shoes inappropriate and had them burned. Under the old lady's care, Karen was bathed, dressed in clean clothes, and taught to read and sew. She grew into a lovely young girl. One day, the queen passed through the village with her daughter, a princess adorned in beautiful red Morocco shoes. Karen's heart longed for such shoes, more splendid than she could ever imagine. As Karen grew older, it was time for her confirmation. She received new clothes and, to her delight, a new pair of shoes. The city's rich shoemaker, who had made shoes for the finest families, crafted these shoes. Among the elegant footwear in his shop stood a pair of red shoes, much like the ones worn by the princess. The shoemaker claimed they were made for a count's daughter, but did not fit. Despite the old lady's poor eyesight, Karen's persistent charm convinced her to buy them. On the day of her confirmation, Karen wore the red shoes. They shone brilliantly, and as she walked into the church, everyone's eyes were on her feet. The old statues seemed to glare at her, and she could think only of her red shoes. After the service, the old lady scolded her for the inappropriate choice. Karen promised to wear only black shoes to church in the future. The following Sunday, tempted by the allure of her red shoes, Karen wore them again. An old soldier with a long red beard standing at the church door admired them and whispered, "Beautiful dancing shoes, sit firm when you dance." His words felt like a spell. Inside the church, Karen's thoughts were consumed by the shoes. As she left, the soldier's words echoed in her mind, and she found herself dancing uncontrollably around the churchyard. The coachman had to carry her home as her feet danced wildly. The old lady fell ill, and Karen had to care for her. Despite her duties, Karen was invited to a grand ball. She gazed longingly at her red shoes and decided to wear them. At the ball, she could not control her feet. They danced against her will out of the ballroom, through the streets, and into the dark, mysterious forest. Under the moonlight, Karen saw the old soldier again, nodding with a sinister smile. "Look, what beautiful dancing shoes," he repeated. Terrified, Karen tried to remove the shoes, but they seemed glued to her feet. Day and night, she danced across fields and villages, unable to rest. One day, she danced past her home and saw the old lady's funeral procession. She knew she was forsaken and condemned. Desperate, Karen reached the executioner's house and begged him to cut off her feet. The executioner, moved by her repentance, agreed. He struck off her feet, and the red shoes, still dancing, carried them away. Karen, now with wooden feet and crutches, sought refuge with the clergyman's family. They took her in, and she worked diligently, finding solace in prayers and hymns. Karen's heart ached with remorse. She avoided church, fearing the red shoes would reappear. One Sunday, the clergyman's family invited her to join them, but Karen, sorrowful, stayed behind. Alone in her small room, she prayed earnestly. Suddenly, the room filled with a divine light. The angel who had once cursed her appeared, now carrying a branch of roses instead of a sword. The angel touched the ceiling, and it rose, revealing a golden star. The walls expanded, transforming her tiny room into a grand church. Karen found herself among the congregation, bathed in warm sunlight. The organ played, and the choir's voices filled the air with heavenly music. Karen felt an overwhelming peace and joy. Her heart, filled with light and forgiveness, finally broke free from the curse. Karen's soul ascended to heaven, where no one asked about the red shoes. She found eternal peace, her trials and tribulations forgiven. The memory of Karen's red shoes lived on in the village, a story of vanity, repentance, and divine mercy. And so the tale of the red shoes was told to remind children of the perils of vanity and the power of true repentance. If you like this story, please give this video a like. For more stories, go to bedtimedreamytales.com. See you in the next story.